Hello, this is Heda for Be Remarkable. Naalala ko lang kasi there's a joke na pag nagba-vlog ka daw, okay, parang it's always about, hey guys. Anyway, okay, so this is a hey guys thing. So, um, I have actually not opened my YouTube account for the intentionally for the purpose of doing a vlog, okay, but my trajectory has changed somewhat when I became part of a project where merong mga tula na ginawa between Pepe Jose Rizal and Leonor Rivera na parang nagsasagutan silang dalawa about how they feel about each other and about their long-distance relationship. Kasi for those na hindi alam, ang istorya ni Leonor at ni Pepe is that they were together for I think 8 to 10 years. Leonor met Jose Rizal when she was 13, I think, and he was 19. And then they got engaged when no, sorry. So Leonor met Jose Rizal when she was 13, but they got engaged. Okay, so they were betrothed to be married. Okay, she was, I think, at the age of 15, and he was, I think, 21. Okay, tama nga yun. So they did meet when Jose Rizal was 19 and Leonor was 13. So they were actually second cousins. At that time, it was not looked upon. It wasn't a negative thing when families, cousins, distant cousins, get married or fall in love, especially because they were coming from two wealthy families. So it was actually not something not looked down upon. But to make the story short, hindi nga sila nagkatuluyan, and there's a very it's a very poignant story. It's a very touching story because dun sa mga tula, sinabi doon, especially the one that I read, from Leonor's side, is that she actually burned Jose Rizal's letters so that she can have the ashes of the burnt letters sewn on her wedding dress kasi she got married to a British guy. So anyway, so that's how I got into this whole thing about Rizal, and now kasi I'm gonna go off grid for a while. Okay, so I thought I should do this video para naman doon sa mga naghahanap ng something much more substantial to mull over, to think about, to discuss. At saka timely kasi siya because this one is the letter of Rizal to the women of Malolos. Ang 132nd anniversary of this letter was on February 22. Nakinig po ako nung isang discourse which was organized by the Knights of Rizal, Sucesos chapter, and in that discourse, Dr. Amalia Rosales, I hope I'm getting her name right, was discussed or presented on this letter, which was significant dahil nung nagbabasa ako, I found out na these 20 women, and also according to the discourse that I watched, from the Knights of Rizal, this letter of Rizal to the women of Malolos was significant dahil parang nakalagay dito, it was a very long letter, nakalagay dito yung mga things that things that women have to be mindful about, especially during that time. Okay, so I got a copy. I was able to find a copy in the Malacanan Palace, in the Presidential Museum and Library, virtual one, kumbaga, parang siguro this, I'm not sure if this is the concise version, pero ang nakasaad doon is that ito daw yung mga original words from the letter of Rizal. And meron siyang 7 na kumbaga topics. So it talks about 7 areas, kumbaga. And then, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna read itong 7, and then I'm just gonna add a little bit of something after each one in relation to women empowerment, and maybe something that touches on what are the realities of our present society in the Philippines, okay, if I may. And the reason for this is because I think there is really a need, okay, for all of us to go back to Rizal and Rizal's teachings if we wish to learn about the greatest in terms of who we are as a people. There really is no better example, no better model than Rizal. Recently ulit, okay, in another discourse by the Knights of Rizal of the Successes chapter, they had a guest speaker by the name of Sir Lucien, I think Spatel. He's Belgian, and he's a Knights of Rizal. At the time when he was introduced, okay, to Rizal, I think it was the staff of the embassy in Belgium that roped him in to help out in doing some research about Rizal, and I think it was in the 1990s, and that's when he started, okay, being interested in Rizal, and finally he is now probably, okay, one of the, if not the #1 expert globally in terms of Rizal, his works, and his life. Okay, so because even Ambet Ocampo, who is a foremost historian in the Philippines, has mentioned in one article that he wrote that Professor Lucien will put a lot of Filipino historians to shame for the things that he know and the kind of knowledge that he has about Rizal. So anyway, balik po tayo dito sa letter, okay, ni Rizal sa mga kababaihan ng Malolos. It was important, okay, it was an important event, whatever these women did, kasi ang gusto nilang mangyari at that time was na matuto sila or mag-learn or mag-start sila ng pag-aaral sa wikang Kastila. So what they did was they wrote a request to the Governor General. And then hindi sila pinayagan because okay, the parish priest at that time, kumbaga, did not allow did not grant or was not supportive of their request. So hindi nangyari. Pero eventually nagpursige po itong 20 na women. They were cousins, they were related to each other, some were sisters and all that. Magkakapareho ang mga tawag dito, ang mga apelyido, because they were related to each other. And so nagpursige po sila, and then eventually they were allowed, okay, to learn the Spanish language. And this event was such a big event, such a significant event na from my readings, okay, it said na kumbaga the rest of the Philippines was able to know what it was about, okay, because of its significance. And okay, word even got to as far as Spain because of these 20 women of Malolos. And I think it was it Marcelo H. del Pilar, I think, okay, who asked Rizal to write, if I'm not mistaken, to write to the women of Malolos, who at that time Rizal was based in London, and sinabi niya na please write a letter in support of these women, and so that's what Rizal did. So, according to the Presidential Museum and Library of the Malacanan Palace, okay, the first thing, okay, that Rizal said in his letter was, unang-una, nagiging taksil ang ilan dahil sa kaduwagan at kapabayaan ng iba. So, in my understanding, what it says is that parang nagre-rebelde or nagpo-protest or yung iba, kumbaga yung parang are not, okay, happy, so they're forced to rebel because of the neglect ng ibang tao. So let's say in our society, kumbaga among our leaders, if our leaders are neglectful or they are fearful to do certain things, to face certain things. So, parang pwedeng yun ang maging cause ng pagre-rebelde ng either the masses or a certain pocket of our society. So that has very important significance. Kumbaga na in our roles, whatever our roles are in society, in the home, we need to fulfill those roles very well. Otherwise, those who are affected by our neglect, magre-rebelde, di po ba? So that's number one. The second one, ang sabi, ikalawa, ang taong nagpapaalipusta ay kulang ng pagmamahal sa sarili at labis na nasisilaw sa umaalipusta. So, this is significant, okay? Dahil lahat naman sila actually significant. But what it says, okay, to me, the way I received it is that when you look down or when you criticize or when you judge others, it's actually more of an issue of your own self-worth at saka yung the way that you look at yourself and the way that you kumbaga that you love yourself or that you accept yourself. So if you don't accept yourself at the start, parang yun pa yung magiging cause or parang yun ang mag-uudyok sa'yo to be critical of others or to be judgmental of other people. So it is important, okay, if we wish to build, okay, a better society, in a society that's more mature, then we also have to work on making sure that, okay, individuals in our midst have very strong self-worth or self-esteem. Di po ba? The other component of yang pangalawa ay sinasabi is that either na nasisilaw ka dun sa mga umaalipusta. So, if you, okay, take criticisms or judgments, especially when they are not founded on truth, and if you just take it and hindi ka maalma, then that also has something to do with the idea that, okay, masyado mo namang nilalagay sa pedestal or sa mataas na kumbaga na level ng lipunan, whoever are those people who are judging you or criticizing you, okay? So kumbaga, it is very important na maging grounded tayo on our own self-worth para hindi tayo alipustahin ng iba, and at the same time we don't also criticize or judge others. So, yun po ang pangalawa. Okay, continue po tayo ha. Ang ikatlo, ang kamangmangan ay pagkaalipin, sapagkat kung ano ang isip ay ganoon ang tao. Ang taong walang sariling isip ay taong walang pagkatao. Ang bulag na tagasunod sa isip ng iba ay parang hayop na sunod-sunod sa tali. So, what it says is that, okay, like ignorance causes enslavement. So, and as we know, I think one of the greatest teachings of Rizal and one of the main focus of Rizal was for everybody to be really mindful about education, to be reading books, and to be informed of what's going on in our world. And then at the same time, as we know, he was all about, okay, freedom, our emancipation from the rule of other people, especially when those leaders, okay, are being exploitative or abusive. So, yan po ang pangatlo. So parang ang sinasabi is that, okay, you have to have your own mind, you have to develop your own mind. Dahil kung hindi, then it will be just easy for you to be parang taken or led, okay, by other people like an animal. Okay, so, ikaapat. Ang ikaapat ang sabi kapag nagtago ka, para mo na ring hinimok ang ibang magtago rin. Dahil kung pabayaan mo ang iyong kapwa, ay pababayaan ka rin naman. Madaling baliin ang nag-iisang tingting, pero mahirap baliin ang isang bigkis na walis. So this one is, I think a lot of us have heard this kasabihan, okay, for such a long time. Ang sabi ko nga sa isang interview is that we have been listening to this for like hundreds of years. But then at the same time, we're still not doing it. We're still not doing it in the sense that, okay, we are still actually very divided, okay, very segmented as a people, and as a country, as a nation, hindi pa rin po tayo magkaisa. And I don't actually know how. I don't have any solutions, okay, as how we can do that, because just the very nature of our geography, we are separated into regions, into islands, and each island in itself is a culture, has a different food, different language, different way of life. So sometimes, okay, divisions occur because of the differences. Pero ang sabi nga ni Rizal, this was especially relevant during that time, na dapat sana magkaisa, dahil if we are together, that's the only way that strength, okay, can be had. Di po ba? Okay, continue po tayo. Ikalima. Kung hindi magbabago ang babaeng Tagalog, hindi siya dapat magpalaki ng anak. At sa halip ay gawing paanakan lamang. O heavy, di ba? Dapat alisin sa kanya ang kapangyarihan sa bahay, sapagkat kung hindi, ay walang malay niyang ipapahamak ang asawa, anak, bayan, at lahat. So, pwede nating sabihin na, di ba napaka-harsh? At sa halip ay gawing paanakan lamang. But, knowing our national hero, knowing how he lived his life, and knowing how he died for country, and knowing that he put his own life, himself, even his own family at risk to write, okay, those two novels, which eventually led us to freedom. Nasasabi natin na he probably had good reasons to say this. Dahil at that time, syempre, it's crucial kung ano ang klase ng pag-aaruga or pag-raise ng mga kabataan. And it's always been about this. Ang sinasabi nga niya, di ba, sa kanya galing yun, yung kasabihan na, okay, the youth is the future of the country. So, ang sinasabi niya is that kung hindi ka magbabago bilang babae, dapat alisin sa iyo ang karapatan na mag-anak. Dahil kung hindi ka magbabago, walang malay, unconsciously, okay, you will impact negatively not just your children, but your spouse, even your country, and everything else. So, it's very important, okay, in terms of empowerment, okay, women empowerment today. Kasi, while women have become more and more, kumbaga, nagiging parte na tayo ng workforce. And we are taking more and more roles and positions in the upper decision-making positions and roles in government and in other sectors of society. I think it is very important that we demand, okay, a lot of ourselves in terms of gaano tayo let's say, gaano kalawak natin tinitingnan ang effect or impact ng ating mga decision making. So, it's like, for instance, ito nga sinasabi dito, di ba? And this is very important, okay, especially as we head towards 2022 in the national elections. Kasi there's this talk, okay, in our country whether women are actually, kumbaga yung parang, are we ready to take on the role of leadership? There's that question. I think we have to be very mindful about what Rizal says. Dahil hindi lahat, mapababae or mapalalaki, has the capacity, has the mindset, and has the emotional makeup, and has the expertise, the experience, and okay, kumbaga, toughness of heart, yet okay, sense of vulnerability too. Kasi lahat-lahat po yan, okay, has to come into play when we make decisions for. We're going to make decisions for 100 million people. 100 million lives, okay, is something. It is not something to be toyed with. It's not something that we should take very lightly. And so, if you are going to take on a role of leadership on a national scale, it is very important that you know yourself very well. And that okay, you know that your capabilities and your capacity to lead and to hold yourself together in terms of in the face of challenges. Dahil marami pong challenges ang Pilipinas. That okay, you are pretty much capable and ready. Yun lang. Okay, ika-6. Malapit na po tayong matapos. Pero mahaba po yung dalawang last two. Okay? Mahaba po itong ika-6. Ang sabi, ipinanganak ang tao na pare-parehong hubad at walang tali. Di sila nilikha ng Diyos upang maalipin. Di binigyan ng isip para magkabulag at di biniyayaan ng katwiran upang maloko ng iba. Hindi, the next one is very, very important, and I really kind of would like to emphasize this one. Ang sinasabi dito ay hindi pagmamataas ang hindi pagsamba sa kapwa-tao. Ang pagpapaliwanag ng isip at pagiging tuwid sa anumang bagay. Ang mapagmataas ay nagpapasamba, ang nambubulag sa iba at ang ibig panaigin ang kanyang gusto sa matuwid at tama. So, kumbaga, the way I receive this statement is that, or this message is that, you're not being arrogant, okay, when you're trying to make yourself be understood. At saka, hindi rin, kumbaga, it's also not, parang you are also not functioning to your full capacity as a human being and as an individual kung ikaw ay parang sumusunod ka lang sa iba. At saka yung parang nagbubulag-bulagan ka, at saka yung parang nagpapaloko ka. So you have been given freedom as an individual, just like everybody else. And you have not been born into this world, okay, bound in chains or whatever, kind of being bound by something. So you're totally free, just like everybody else. So you exercise that. And it's not being arrogant or not being boastful when you are trying to stand your ground about something that, okay, you know to be right. Okay, so that's what it says. Okay, the number 7. Okay, this one is the last one, pero mahaba po ito, isang page. Diba? But I'm gonna read it anyway. Okay, so what it says is, ikapito, pag nilayan ninyong maigi kung ano ang relihiyong itinuturo sa atin, tingnan ninyong mabuti kung iyan ba talaga ay utos ng Diyos o ang pangaral ni Kristong panlunas sa hirap ng mahirap, pang-aliw sa dusa ng nagturusa. Alalahanin niyo ang lahat na itinuturo sa inyo, ang pinatutunguhan ng lahat ng sermon, ang nasa kaibuturan ng lahat ng misa, nobena, kwintas, eskapularyo, larawan, milagro, kandila, sinturon, at iba-iba pang iginigiit. inihihiyaw at idinidiin araw-araw sa inyong loob, tainga, mata. Hanapin nyo ang punot dulo at ihambing nyo ang relihiyon sa malinis na relihiyon ni Kristo. Okay? I would like to repeat that. Hanapin nyo ang punot dulo at ihambing nyo ang relihiyon sa malinis na relihiyon ni Kristo. At tingnan kung ang inyong pagkakristyano ay kapareho ng inaalagaang gatasang hayop o kaya ng pinatatabang baboy na pinatataba hindi dahil sa pagmamahal sa Kanya, kundi upang maipagbili ng mas mahal at ng lalong pagkakakitaan. Now, as I was growing up, I think I was victim of a misunderstanding of Rizal and his teachings and what he stood for. Kasi sa pag-aakala ko is that, okay, Jose Rizal was against the Catholic Church or the Christian Church for that matter. Pero ngayon ko lang parang na-appreciate, and now, okay, probably because I'm in the right, okay, maturity or mindset, or maybe because I've seen the world a little bit more, or I've experienced life a little bit more, ngayon ko lang napagtanto na Rizal was a man of strong faith. He believed in Christ. Doon na lang sa ikapitong sinabi ni Rizal, kumbaga, ang what he always stood for and what people still to this day teach, okay, in such a misunderstood and misguided way, na parang ang sinasabi is that Rizal was against the church. No, he was not. He was against practices done or being implemented or being forced on us at that time by certain members of the church, by certain leaders of the church, na hindi na angkop sa the way Christ lived or the way Christ, okay, wanted his people to live. So ang what Rizal, from my own point of view, at saka sa sinasabi dito, sa sulat niya mismo, is that he just wants us all, individually as well, and as a group of people perhaps, and as a woman, okay, to question what is being taught us, what is being inculcated in us, what we are being conditioned for sometimes. We have to use that word. Dahil meron naman talagang certain, siguro, areas of our lives, whether it's religion or not, whether it has something to do with other areas of ourselves, of our lives, na kumbaga, na parang kinukondisyon tayo. Whether it's intentional or unintentional, I think we have to acknowledge that. At saka, the most important thing that Rizal has always taught is and has always promoted is that, okay, to question things, to question, tama pa ba? Okay, tama pa ba yan? Tama pa ba sa pagiging tao? He was always about, okay, the individual freedom. He was also about, okay, unity among people. And he was also about being able to stand on your own and make your own decisions about what is right for you. But at the same time, he also was promoting dignity, and at the same time, I think he also had such very high, expectations of himself. And that is why he can ask, okay, in his writings of others, okay, to hold themselves to a certain higher level as well, because he did. So, I think, okay, I have always been, from an early age, I have always been interested, and I've always been drawn to the stories of Rizal and the man that he was. And I really would like to thank Sir Alwin Galela and Mr. Rado Gatchalian, that I have been able to participate in a project that they did, okay, with the Knights of Rizal, which were the poems, okay, between Jose Rizal and Leonor Rivera. Dahil it has opened my eyes to what I have always been kind of wanting to do in life, okay, or in terms of the energies and the talents, whatever talents that I have, is to be able to shed or shine some light into Rizal's teachings, into his life, and what he wishes for us all to appreciate. That's all for now, and I hope that's okay. If this video has been helpful for you, okay, please do share it with other people, and I hope to do more of something like this, and I'm thankful for the people who are giving programs, discourses, discussions, and sharing stories about Rizal. Bye for now.